How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here, and we're here to talk about Bounce. Bounce has taken over Marvel Snap by storm, so I am here to show you guys how to play Bounce, or how to construct a Bounce deck, and how to look for counters out there towards Bounce decks at the moment. So let's go right into it, and let's talk about Bounce. The Bouncers, we have Beast, Falcon, and the newly added Toxin. These are your cards that basically bounce and make this deck go. Preferably, I think Beast is the best out of the few, right? Because you want to target cards that cost 1, and then once they come back to your hand, they are now 0 cost, which means you could play them for free next turn, which is freaking awesome. And then of course we have Falcon. Falcon brings back all of the 1 cost back into your hand, and we have Toxin. Toxin basically bounces cards back to your hand, and each card bounce, it gets +2 power. So these are your bouncers. So whenever you're playing Bounce, I would suggest playing at least 2 of these, or you could play all 3 if you're feeling froggy. The only thing I have to worry about Bounce decks in general is just having one of them left in your hand at the end of the game, especially Falcon. If Falcon is in your hand on turn 6, it's like a dead card. You can't even play it. So that is the only worry I have with this archetype, or with these three cards in general. Besides that, they're all pretty good. So let's talk about some of the cards that love to be bounced. So we have Nico Manaru. Nico here is a Swiss Army knife when it comes to wanting to be bounced. You could use her multiple spells. My favorite one is the demon spell. Of course, you could take a card like Hood, and then we'll basically play Nico, and then you could take a card like Hood and turn it into a demon, or you could take Falcon, turn it into a demon. You could take something that costs less, turn it into a demon. You could change a location, especially if someone tries to play Limbo on you. This card is awesome. Swiss Army knife, when it comes to Snap, it can buff itself, it can buff other cards, it can move into another location. And next, let's talk about Hood. Hood is a very good card. It is -3 power whenever it goes on the board, but it does give you that demon, and then when you bounce back that Hood, that takes away that -3 from the board, and you take advantage of having to be able to play a Hood. And then, like I explained before, I try to use like Nico Manaru to turn that Hood into a demon, and then of course you get a demon from your hand. And next we have Rocket Raccoon. Rocket is so good at bounce because if you swing and miss multiple times, it is okay, because eventually Rocket will get his due justice and he'll get that +4. And if you're able to hit targets multiple times and guess lucky, this card can be rewarding if you're able to play it in the right location. So this is why this is in Bounce. If you swing and miss the first time, you could always try again. And next we have Agent Venom. Agent Venom is so good in Marvel Snap. It's a season pass card currently, and it changes the power to all the cards in your deck to 4, which is amazing. And like the card we talked about previously, Hood, it changes it from a -3 to a 4. It changes cards like Mystique and Iron Man to a 4, which is amazing. That Iron Man by himself is an 8. Now, just because Agent Venom, I feel like this card's gonna get nerfed in like the next OTA. I have a feeling once the season is over, this card's gonna get nerfed. So play it now while the getting is good, because it is awesome. And then next we have Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey can go crazy in the bounce list, especially if you're playing Beast, especially if you're playing Black Swan, is a card we'll talk about later too. If you have cards that cost 0, you can play and pretty much fill up the whole board, and Hitmonkey takes advantage of that by getting +2 power for each card that you play down that turn. And this could be a very good surprise against your opponent, because they actually don't know how many cards you can or cannot play, and Hitmonkey takes advantage of that. And next we have Silver Sable. Silver Sable was a card that came out last season, and she afflicts 2 power on the top card of your opponent's deck. And if you could do this over and over again, you could definitely mess up their plans while this card gets bigger and bigger, just like the Rocket from before. It doesn't get as big as Rocket because it is a guaranteed thing that she's going to hit the top card because you're technically not milling. And you could do this over and over again with your bouncers, right? With your Beast, with your Falcon, with your Toxin. And then you could play her for free with Black Swan, or even after you bounce her back with Beast. So this is why this is crucial in the bounce archetype. And then next, we have the Bishop. Bishop is a 3/1, and whenever you play a card, he gains +1 power. And this is crucial too. You're playing so many 1-drops that Bishop can get pretty big and take your opponent by surprise. There's nothing they can do about it, right? There's a few counters. We'll talk about those in a bit. But Beast just takes advantage of you. Well, Bishop takes advantage of you just playing the game, right? And plus, this is like one of the first cards you play in Snap that you get used to. And it's cool that he's still a staple now, like in higher ranks, right? So let's go into the next card. We have Mysterio. And next we have Mysterio here. Mysterio is so good when it comes to the game of Marvel Snap, the Deception. But with cards like Bast and Agent Venom, giving this card a boost and the illusions a boost. That way it's like a miniature Doctor Doom, I think. And this can actually, if you play this early enough, you can fake out your opponent or psych out your opponent, but mostly you want to play this at the end of the game. That way your Hit Monkey can take a full advantage. And then also the card that we mentioned before, Bishop, can take full advantage of this card by adding so many cards on the board at once. And then next we have Black Swan. Black Swan is so crucial. I think she's like the only activate card in this list, or we'll be talking about all together. And basically, you have to just make sure you activate on turn 5 before turn 6, and all of your 1 costs become 0 costs. And this is amazing because this helps out cards like Hit Monkey that wants to play as many cards as possible. It helps out your Bishop as well, and you're able to play 2-3 drops on the final turn, or a 5-drop and a 1, or even just like a 5-drop, and then a bunch of other cards on the final turn just to take your opponent by storm. And Black Swan is so awesome when it comes to this archetype. And next we have Sage. Sage coincides with your Hit Monkey, right? So on the final turn, typically I like to play Hit Monkey and Sage, and then hopefully I played either Beast or I played Black Swan or activated Black Swan. That way I have free 1-drops and you just let it rip. The only problem I have personally is I put maybe Hit Monkey and Sage in the wrong spot. With Sage, you just have to make sure all the other cards in that same location have unique powers, and try not to put her in the same spot where some of your other cards have the same power, especially since you're playing Agent Venom. A lot of cards have +4, so just be wary of that. And next, we have Iron Man. Iron Man and Claw have been popping up a lot in bounce lists lately. Iron Man takes full advantage of Agent Venom. That's why Iron Man is basically in this deck, just to put more power on the board. Because right now in Marvel Snap, I think we have a bit of a power creep where you could go so tall in locations, and Iron Man just helps you go over the top. That way you can win the games you need to win. And then next we have Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde 2 is a bounce card in herself, where she goes in and out of your hand and she gains power each time. And technically you can bounce her, right? You could use Beast, you could use Falcon, or you could use Toxin to bounce her back. She'll gain power. And then plus with Beast, of course, she becomes a 0 cost. That way you don't have to worry about wasting more energy the next turn. And that's pretty good. A card that just goes in and out of your hand, gains more power, is awesome. And next we have Iceman. Iceman is pretty much here to cause some disruption on the other end. This is a popular card. Not as popular as the rest in bounce, but it is popular as well. I think Iceman, Spider-Ham, cards like that that cause disruption fit well into the bounce archetype in general. Next, we have Hawkeye. Hawkeye is so good in bounce. I feel like it's a card that's not played in bounce that often anymore, but it was a card that I utilized a lot in bounce in the past. And then speaking of Hawkeyes, we also have Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop can be also good in the bounce archetype, especially since with the arrows, especially with the basic arrow, it's basically another Hawkeye, right? And then you have the acid arrow, you have the grapple arrow, you have the Pym arrow. You have so much versatile stuff that you could use, just like Nico, right? Nico is like a Swiss Army knife, so is Kate Bishop, and you're able to win games randomly or a way like your opponent never would have thought, just based off of you having arrows. Next, we have US Agent. US Agent afflicts all the cards with -4 that cost 4, 5, and 6. And basically, since you're going so low in this deck, I believe the only card that costs over 4 is pretty much Iron Man, right? Everything else goes pretty low to the ground, and you're basically countering the other side, which is pretty good. US Agent has tons of value in this deck archetype, especially when they're trying to go tall and you aren't as tall, and this can definitely save you games. And then next and lastly, for our mains as far as the bounce archetype, we do have Werewolf by Night. You just have to be careful with board space, especially in this type of deck, or even bouncing him into your hand and worrying about how much energy you use. I feel like this is a card that's more on the advanced scale or the advanced side of bounce, not on the easier side. I think this has like a 9% rate of being in bounce decks compared to like Beast being in 100% of bounce decks. So just be careful on how you play Werewolf by Night and bounce, but he can be pretty good and win you tons of games. And then next, let's go into some of the counters when it comes to bounce. Of course, since we have so many on reveals in bounce in general, Cosmo does cause a problem. You can't Beast, you can't use your Falcon, you can't use your Toxin if they do certain lanes, you can't use your Hood, you can't use your Rocket or Silver Sable. There's so many things that could go wrong if they just play Cosmo, so just be wary. That is a counter for bounce. And next, we are going to talk about Shadow King. Shadow King is a counter too. Just be wary. All of your bouncing of Rocket and Silver Sable can go out of the window, especially since you have Agent Venom in this deck. If you used it on an Iron Man, the Shadow King just wipes away that extra 4 power. And you also have Killmonger. We use a lot of 1-drops in this archetype, so Killmonger can just basically wipe away the board and you have no board at all. And those are just some of the counters when it comes to bounce. So let's go into some of the decks and bounce, and then let's play some games with it. So here is the first deck. We have Hood, Rocket, Silver Sable, Nico, Toxin, Black Swan, Falcon, Agent Venom, Mysterio, Sage, Hitmonkey, and Beast. So basically all the cards we talked about earlier for the most part, right? And we have all three of our bouncers in this deck. We have Toxin, Falcon, and Beast. And overall, this is probably like a purist bounce deck, and we just go balls to the wall and we try to get most of our cards on the board the best as we can. Again, just be careful of how you use Falcon, Beast, and Toxin while you're playing this deck. So let's go into another one. This is one of the best bounce decks in Marvel Snap. This one doesn't have Toxin. Instead, we do have Bishop. Bishop takes advantage of all of the cards that we're playing on the board. So there's Hood, Rocket, Silver Sable, Nico, Black Swan, Falcon, Agent Venom, Mysterio, Sage, Bishop, and Beast. So let's take these two decks, or we could take either or, and let's play some games and let's see how balance work. I'll talk you through how I play turn by turn, and then hopefully by the end you have a better perspective on how to play bounce, and you know which cards to sub in and out while you're playing bounce. So let's go into the games. So we have Rocket, Hood, and Beast. What was I gonna say? Tinker's Workshop as our first location. So do we play Black Swan now, or do we go Rocket, Hood? I think we're gonna go Rocket, Hood in the same spot. Hopefully we can hit something with Rocket. And we don't. But we do get a Hood. We do get a Hood. So obviously I think the play here is to play Black Swan. And we'll play her in... let's play her in the unknown. I think we play Beast next turn. Hopefully we get like Falcon or something. That'll be pretty cool. She-Hulk. Are they an Airship deck? Yes, they are. Of course. So we have Luke's Bar. So luckily we did play something there. We just go Beast. So we have our own bounce mechanic right there in Luke's Bar. The Space Stone. We go Rocket, Hood, Falcon, and then we could play Demon now. We play Mockingbird. We miss with Rocket. And we get rid of that ninja. Turn 5. So we get Hit Monkey. I don't think we play anything this turn. We skip this turn. There's Blob. It's Red Hulk. Alright, so I think we go Hit Monkey, Demon, Rocket, Sage, and then we could play Ninja Hood just so our Hit Monkey could get even bigger. And I think this gives us the win. Yep. Alright, and GG's. We just took down an Airship deck. Victory. And we were able to use Luke's Bar to our advantage as a bouncer itself. We didn't need technically Toxin, right? So GG's, we're able to pull off a win. So we have Black Swan, Agent Venom, Toxin, and Mysterio. The card that we want to go in Sakar right now is either Agent Venom or Black Swan. And neither goes. It is a Mysterio, so they know our big Mysterio is there. We have the big house. I think we go ahead and play Venom into the big house. Then next turn, I think we play Sage. I think we play Sage, and then we play Toxin, Black Swan. Or we go Silver Sable, Black Swan. We'll do that. Luke Cage. That scares me. I'm pretty sure they're doing some hazmat shenanigans. Let's go Nico. Sage. Mega Red. So turn 5, we're gonna make sure we activate Black Swan. We are gonna use Toxin, and then we're gonna use Falcon. I hope that we don't get a beast in our hand. Hopefully we get Hit Monkey. So Sarah, it's pretty scary. I think we go Nico, Hood, Silver Sable. Let's go Nico, Hood, Silver Sable, Sage. I guess the Silver Sable doesn't matter. It gives us a +4. We'll take it. We'll take it. Hopefully this gives us the win. It's not like they can Goliath us. But they are playing a lot of cards themselves. Alright, there's Man Thing, one of the counters we talked about. Shadow King, another counter that we talked about. There's Hazmat. And US Agent. So they hit us with 2 of the counters. 2 of the counters they hit us with. So those are the counters that you can interact with Bounce. And it looks like there's a lot of Ghost being played too, because you're able to get your stuff off. And then, of course, they could play Shadow King. So this has been going around a lot to combat Bounce, which totally makes sense. Alright, that is it for this video. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Hopefully you have a better understanding of Bounce and you know all the cards that are in the archetype, the counters, and hopefully you could make some good cooks yourself. Are you liking Bounce right now, this Bounce meta? Are you hating it? Do you wish to see some stuff to counter Bounce instead of playing Bounce? Let me know down in the comments below. Till next time, thank you for watching. Keep on snapping. And till next time, peace.
Snap.